Good evening, everyone. What a great day it is. What a great evening it is here at the Alex Theater. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. I'm Mayor Ara Najarian, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you tonight. On behalf of myself, my colleagues on the Glendale City Council, welcome to the 2025 Women's Equality Day event, a premier community engagement that seeks to bring together thoughtful dialogue, information, resources, and networking to continue strengthening and advocating for women and girls in the community. As we look around the courtyard, there are a lot of powerful and prominent people here. So while I'd love to shout you all out, I'm mindful of our limited time, so please indulge me in just a few moments while I acknowledge a few of our dignitaries. And of course, from our Glendale City Council, my colleague, former Mayor Ellen Asaturian, Artie Kasakian is going to be here, Vartan Garpetian. Dan Brotman is traveling, he couldn't make it. And from the Glendale Community College, you'll be hearing from him later, Dr. Ryan Corner, and Paola Santana. She's the Executive Director of the GCC Foundation. And from the Glendale Unified School District Board of Trustees, we have Nida Farid and Ingrid Ganell, and I think Dr. Watson was going to be here today as well. Now, from our Glendale family, our Glendale team, our city manager couldn't make it today, but we have our assistant city manager, John Taktalian. We have our city clerk, Dr. Susie Abadjian. We have the director of community services and parks, Onik Bolanikian. Of course, our great chiefs, Fire Chief Jeff Brooks and Police Chief Manny Sid. We have our new finance director, Jack Lang. We have the general manager of Glendale Water and Power, Scott Mellon. Our public works director, Daniel Hernandez, and our community development director, Bradley Calvert. And of course, the wonderful Dom Mugardichian, who introduced me. And I will give our moderators the opportunity to highlight the speakers that we're going to have. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. And I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the long-standing efforts of our Commission on the Status of Women and their contribution of time, energy, effort, and resources in working with city staff to bring this worthwhile event to light tonight. Believe me, it is not easy to arrange this event. But tonight is a culmination of weeks of planning, community outreach, and engagement, and a considerable amount of deep reflection on what women's equality stands for today and what we build upon together to reach even higher potential for the future for women and girls in Glendale and beyond. On August 26, 2025, the Glendale City Council proclaimed the day Women's Equality Day to honor the progress and continued commitments toward equality for women. And we have our suffragette here who can always remind us how far we've come since 1919. As a city, we've made some recent contributions to the landscape. Our Commission on the Status of Women continues their work of education, advocacy, legislative work, community engagement, and partnership to raise awareness on causes affecting girls and women in our community and programming to support those efforts. The Glendale City Council has joined the collaborative effort to narrow the pay disparity in the state by signing on to the California Equal Pay Pledge, an initiative grounded in the belief that equitable pay policies not only enhance business attractiveness by enhancing top-tier talent, but increase productivity and contribute to the broader economy. We encourage other organizations and businesses in the community to review the pledge and to consider signing on. More recently, our very own Glendale Fire Department sponsored and participated in the Pasadena-Glendale Women's Fire Academy, held earlier this year, focused on introducing young women to careers in emergency medical services and the fire service. As we know, the importance of representation, mentorship, and early outreach to career success, this program was focused on spotlighting the fire and EMS career paths as an accessible and fulfilling option. Our City Council also recently directed staff to apply for a Department of Justice grant to apply technology by way of mobile apps to document and thwart domestic violence in our community, and you will hear more about this most important topic shortly. And at City Hall, we are proud to have several female department directors doing excellent work as part of the executive management team. These women are helping professionally develop and mentor the next generation of our city workforce. These efforts and commitments in our community are furthered and strengthened by the various community organizations and nonprofits who contribute in this space. The YWCA, the YMCA, the Soroptimists of Glendale, our partners in education, faith-based organizations and health, our business community comprised of diverse industries and backgrounds. I applaud the efforts in our community thus far and know that the future is bright with all of us working together. Thank you to our moderator and panelists for your time and contributions to what will no doubt be the most successful event that we've had in Glendale on any topic this year. Tonight's event is made possible through the generous donations of our sponsors, whose names are here and on your programs. And most notably, thank you to the Caruso team for their continued support of this event. We appreciate your partnership and your generous sponsorship. Well, thank you again for all being here. I'm going to cut my remarks at this point, but I would like to welcome my colleague on the City Council, former Mayor Ellen Asaturian, for her remarks.
Good evening, everyone. It's an exciting day in Glendale. I can't hear you. That's what I thought. We also have with us the Director of Library and Arts, Lessa Pelayo Lozada, if you can. And I want to take, before my remarks, I do want to make a special note of huge thanks to two incredible women who have worked behind the scenes to make this event possible. One of them, Elena Balboyan, who had to be with her family, so while we are all enjoying the fruits of her labor, she needed to be with family last minute, as well as Annette Razarian, if you can come up, because everyone needs to see who's behind it. There you go. Today marks Women's Equality Day, a day born out of struggle, persistence, and vision. It commemorates the ratification of the 19th Amendment when women in this country finally secured the right to vote. But that victory was not inevitable. It came down to one lawmaker in Tennessee who received a letter from his mother urging him to do the right thing. He cast a deciding vote, and women across the country won the right to vote. But let's be clear, it wasn't all women, it was just white women. But one voice, one act of courage, guided by the wisdom of his mother, changed the course of history and paved the way. That story matters because it shows how fragile progress can be and how critical it is for each of us to step up when the moment calls for us to do so. And if you're not going to step up, then at the very least, please don't stand in our way. As the only woman serving on the Glendale City Council, I carry the history with me every time I take up to that dais and into my seat. I stand here as only the 7th woman in Glendale's history to do so, and let me tell you, the struggle is very real. Because equality is not just about having a seat at the table, it's about calling out biases and double standards plainly as they are. It's about dismantling locker room conversations that objectify women. It's about making sure women aren't minimized, interrupted, or dismissed when they speak. It's not about when you agree with a man, It's about how he behaves when you challenge him or don't agree with his opinion that the true colors come out. And I'll say this directly. Anyone who is offended by these conversations should ask themselves why. Check your unconscious bias and perhaps actively listen instead of getting defensive. This is not about victimhood. This is about women and girls claiming the place that is rightfully ours. The truth is, most environments, including government, continue to be male-dominated. That's why men in leadership need to step up. Not as passive supporters, but active allies. I can bring up 100 things, but I still need 3 votes, sometimes 4. An active ally means the burden doesn't fall on the woman to carry it. It means men take it on with the same vigor. And hopefully, in this day and age, they don't need a letter from their mother to remind them to do the right thing. Equality also means confronting the challenges women face in our own community. Last year alone, our Glendale Police Department responded to 635 domestic disturbance calls, up from 22 and 23. And we know that these numbers are underreported. That is why we must use data, not denial, to bring resources that uplift women, protect families and children, and break cycles of harm and violence. Last night, I'm proud to note that we unanimously moved to introduce an ordinance to expand the powers of the Women's Commission so it can conduct programming, fundraise, and look both internally and externally into our community for new ways to support women. I look forward to what will hopefully be a unanimous vote on the council with the resources to back it. Because words on paper without resources are just symbolic. And right now, our city allocates $0 from our $1.27 billion budget to programming for women and girls. And the half-time position meant to staff the Commission on the Status of Women has been vacant for months. I'm grateful for my colleagues for their commitment, both on the ordinance and the full-time staffing this work requires. Today's diverse panel of incredible women who have each shattered glass ceilings, along with an unapologetic male champion for women and girls, reflects our values. It reminds us that advancing equality requires courage, collaboration, and accountability. It is also crucial that we uplift women economically by supporting women-owned businesses, creating pathways to leadership, and ensuring our local economy reflects the true talent and leadership of women. And let me tell you, there's no shortage of women and talented women in this city. As we look ahead, there are long overdue items before this council: childcare on campus for city employees, expanded family leave policies that can't be bargained away, and ensuring our police department has the right resources when they answer a domestic violence call. These aren't luxuries, these are necessities if we're serious about building a workplace and a city that values women's equality. Women's Equality Day is not just about honoring the past, it's about building a Glendale where every woman and every girl can dream without limits, lead without apology, and know her community values her equally. That is our responsibility, that is our charge, and that is our promise. And to every woman that's here today, never let society box you in. They'll try to tell you that if you're a feminist, you can't be feminine, that if you choose career, you also can't choose home, that you have to be one thing or another, that if you were just softer, you'd get ahead further. Don't buy it. Just do you, be you, stand in your own light in the fullness of everything that you are. Because equality doesn't mean shrinking yourself to fit someone else's expectation of what you should be. It means rising unapologetically as your whole self. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Ara Najarian, council members, commissioners, and honored guests. My name is Romella Markarian, and I'm deeply honored to serve as the newly elected chair of the Glendale Commission on the Status of Women. Today, we're honored to once again co-sponsored the City of Glendale's second annual Women's Equality Day, celebrating this important occasion alongside all of you. Over the past few years, we have been deeply grateful for the guidance and collaboration of the City Clerk's Office under the leadership of Dr. Susie Abajian, and we are extending our gratitude to Dr. Abajian and her team for their unwavering support and collaboration. A hallmark of our collaboration was the publication of the 2022-2023 report on the status of women and girls in Glendale, a groundbreaking study that, for the first time, disaggregated Armenian data revealing critical disparities. This valuable information was shared and presented at various community organizations, ensuring broader community awareness and impact. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our immediate past chair, Ms. Diane Lambalot, whose leadership anchored the commission and ensured that our continued work thrives. The Commission on the Status of Women continues to celebrate change makers and raise awareness about domestic violence and the experiences of survivors through our annual Purple Tie Awareness, proudly held in collaboration with YWC of Glendale and Pasadena. We also have invested in the future, supporting programs like Camp Rosie and Tinker Club, and providing mentorship and financial sponsorship to inspire and empower the next generation of women leaders. Our policy voice has grown stronger. We have submitted recommendations to City Council in support of state legislation that advanced equality for women and girls, and we have advocated for the city to issue Pride Month proclamations, as our mayor mentioned, helpfully ensuring the Glendale continues to embrace inclusivity and equality for all of us. With the integration of the Glendale City Commission on the Status of Women into the City Manager's Office, we look forward to building on the strong foundation we have established. With the commitment and dedication of our commissioners, all of them here tonight, who are all working very hard to make sure that our work and our vision continues. We're very much looking forward to work with our City Council members and move forward our vision and purpose, working together to create a more equitable, inclusive, and empowered future for all women and girls in our city. At this time, I would like to invite our student commissioners to present their remarks. They've been very instrumental being the voice of our youth and the younger generation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Hovanesian, and I had the privilege of serving as a student ex officio for the Commission on the Status of Women. It is an honor to join you tonight in celebrating women's equality, a day that recognizes the struggle and victories of women throughout history and reminds us of our responsibility to continue advancing equality for generations to come. When I first began involving myself in the civic life at the age of 13, I quickly realized something important. Student voices matter, yet too often they are left out of the conversation. That is why I created a project today that is displayed on poster boards around here. I asked elementary, middle, and high school students, as well as students at our own Glendale Community College, to answer a question that is written on a board. They left their responses behind for you all to see and for you all to be inspired by. These boards are filled by students' voices reflecting on what equality, empowerment, and community means to them. Women's Equality Day reminds us that equality is not just a matter of history. It is a call to action. True equality requires more than just recognition. It requires representation, it requires inclusion, and it requires the courage to listen to all voices. I invite you all to use your voice and sign the poster board that we will create together. A poster board that will show your words, because all of your voices matter. Women's Equality Day is more than just a commemoration. It is a living reminder that equality is built every day by the voices that we uplift and the choices that we all make. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the event. Thank you.
Good evening, esteemed guests and city staff. My name is Angelina Veselinov, one of the other student ex officio commissioners on the Commission on the Status of Women. Before I begin my remarks, let's get a little excited for the wonderful night ahead. Let's give a strong round of applause for the women who fought for our right to vote 106 years ago, and for the women here today who continue to fight for our equality. I have had the privilege of serving on the Commission on the Status of Women for the past 2 years now as a student commissioner, representing girls my age on the city level. My first major event on the commission was Women Supporting Women, where I saw firsthand the strong and wonderful women who lead our community and inspire girls like me, but also the importance of supporting our commission to ensure women's programming continues in our city. During my term as student commissioner, I have experienced wonderful and amazing events where I have seen firsthand the power of giving young women a voice on the city level. And as my term comes to an end, I have immense gratitude for this amazing opportunity. However, I'm also reminded that the city must continue to give a voice to young women and girls in our community. In a research paper I recently completed studying an educational program on gender stereotypes in high schools, I found that 90.8% of students have seen others be gender stereotyped or have been gender stereotyped themselves. And 92.9% of those students said they encountered those gender stereotypes at school. This alarming statistic shows that progress still needs to be made in our city. But that can be helped by continuing the discourse on women's equality and women's rights like this event today, especially by giving young women a space to voice their opinions, such as my position on the Commission on the Status of Women. As we enjoy tonight, let's remember the importance of young voices and continuing to work towards a more equal and stereotype-free environment for young girls in the city of Glendale. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. What a powerful start to the evening. On behalf of our panel, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to hear this evening from some incredible women who have been extraordinary leaders across public service, higher education, business, innovation, and law enforcement. Each of our panelists have charted a unique path, broken barriers, and shown what it means to lead with courage and vision. They're going to introduce themselves up just in a second, so maybe I can invite them all to come take their seat. Panelists, please come on up. And their bios are included and printed in the program. So if you haven't had a chance yet, feel free to take a closer look. I'm gonna just, we got everyone.
Thank you. No way. I'm gonna go in the middle.
Let them get situated. Together, these women bring a wealth of experience and perspectives on leadership, equity, and resilience. I am so excited for each of you to hear their personal stories, the systemic challenges they've encountered, and the solutions that they are advancing each in their field to create a more inclusive future. So I'm going to ask everyone to get us started here. We're going to start with the chief here on my right. We'll just pass the mic down. I'm going to ask each panelist to share their name and title, and most importantly, let's, I think, just get right into it with the most practical equity lever you've used in your work. And this way you'll not only get to know them, but you'll get a sense of something actionable right away, which I know is the purpose of tonight. We don't want this to be just a theoretical conversation. We want each of you to walk away with the words of wisdom on how to put these ideas into practice. So, Chief, why don't you kick us off?
So good evening, everyone. My name is Amada Tingarides, and I am an assistant chief with the Los Angeles Police Department. and I am the director of our Office of Operations. What that means is I oversee all 21 geographic divisions in the city of Los Angeles, as well as our youth programs and our community safety partnership. I think as it relates to navigation and my moral compass is to embrace the suck and to utilize times when bias is shown or things are not equitable, to turn that into your drive.
Hello, good evening, everybody. It's such an honor to be here with you all this evening. I'm a proud Glendale resident. My name is Natalie Samardzian. I am the CEO at Coro Southern California. We're a civic leadership development institute. Coro was founded with the promise of preserving and advancing our democracy, and a core element of the work that we do centers on building a leadership infrastructure that is representative of our communities, so that leaders are representatives of the communities that they serve. I see many Coro alums in the room, including our moderator here, Jessica Lal. So I hope you'll take some time to learn more about Coro. I'll say that for me, the lever centers on integrity, is making sure that in every moment, in every action, in every approach that I take, I am doing that with integrity and alignment to my core values, and mostly and especially when it's hard to do.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's my honor to be part of this program. My name is Melody Safavizadeh. I'm the group supervisor for avionics testbed at Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA. What that means is I'm overseeing multiple flight projects, including Mont-Saint-Pierre-le-Turn and M2020. One of the tools that I have been using across my career, either I was the individual contributor or serving as a leadership, is providing a dedicated environment for employees or my colleagues from mid-career to junior level for the mentorship. It's really important to hear them out, to provide that honest environment that they can get advice on career movement and development advice. Thank you.
I'll stay with this mic because I don't know about that one. Hello, my name is Judge Lucy Armendariz, but when I'm in Glendale, I always say I'm Judge Lucy Armendarian. And I am a judge in downtown LA where I preside over criminal trials. And I was not born and raised too far from here. I was born and raised in East LA. And for those of you who know where East LA is, you know it's a very special place, but it could also be a pretty tough neighborhood. But childhood for me was not idyllic. When I was 8 years old, my mother was sent to prison, and I grew up in foster care. And she actually died in prison, having spent the rest of her life in prison. And so I say that because I remember being a child in a court system, seeing my mom go to trial, seeing me get sent to foster care. And I remember the judge who ordered my placement. And I remember wondering if he knew that I was in front of him and that I was 8 years old, and I was very scared. And that's why, as a judge today, I want to make sure that everyone that enters my courtroom is seen and treated with dignity and respect. And for the follow-up question of what I tried, I feel like there's always forever going to be places and situations that you encounter where people are going to be racist, sexist, what have you. But that doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel about it, right? Like, the imposter syndrome is real. Like, I was just named a supervising judge of criminal. I've never practiced criminal, but I've been doing criminal trials now for a while. And there is that sense of like, why me? They're going to figure out I still don't really know all the law. But what's worked for me is to always outwork everybody. Make sure that every room I go to, I'm very prepared. That I did my homework, that I figured out who was going to be there, what they were going to contribute, and what I needed to contribute. So that imposter syndrome, that sense of I don't really belong, completely goes away when you prepare, when you're confident enough to be there. The people who don't want you there, they're going to always be there, and that doesn't matter. What matters is your own head and how you believe it. And so that's what I would say is always make sure you outwork everybody, but also make sure you have fun while you're doing it.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Stephanie Garcia. I am the bilingual local engagement specialist for the California Office of Small Business Advocate. We're a unit under the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. I do not live in Sacramento. I'm actually based out of San Diego, but I cover the entire Southern California region from LA down to the southern border. So I cover the 6 counties that are in Southern California. And I would say for me, the biggest lever that I've used is really my lived experience as a first-generation Latina, first in my family to go to college, a mom of 2 beautiful girls and 8 nieces, a professional entrepreneur, has really allowed me to create this platform where I'm able to support other women in achieving their goals and their dreams of becoming entrepreneurs or business owners.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Ryan Corner. I'm the Superintendent President for Glendale Community College right here in your neighborhood. I just first wanted to thank the organizers for asking me to be here, and I'm really humbled to be on this panel. I'm eager to learn. And I would say when I came up here, I was going to speak a little bit about systems. That my go-to with equity is how do we look at our systems and how do we change things that will impact more than just the individual but ongoing. But I did want to say that just before we got on stage, the Department of Education pulled all funding for minority-serving institutions. And so I'm going to change my answer and say that I think our leverage needs to be being bold and saying what we feel. And saying that that's uncalled for, and that if we're truly advocates for equity, for equality, then as our city council member said, we do need to put our resources to where they need to be to support the people that need to be supported. And I hope that maybe we can all be bolder in doing that so that we can affect the change that we want.
Amen to that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fired up, and it may have been that strong coffee that I have, but I am ready to dive in with these incredible panelists. So we're going to cover 3 rounds. We're going to talk personal, systemic, and then solutions, and then hopefully have time to open it up to the audience, as I'm sure, I know I do have a lot of questions here. So let's start, and this will be a question for everybody. Can you briefly talk to us about what drew you to your current role and a pivotal moment that has shaped your leadership journey or paradigm? We'll start here, Chief.
Thank you. I come from a family of service. I grew up single mom, grew up without a father, was in and out of foster care for a little bit until my mom could get her bearings and get me back. And I grew up in the community of Watts in South Los Angeles, and after the Rodney King incident and then the gang and drug war that occurred in South LA, and I saw the pain and the anger from the community in law enforcement's response, I knew I needed to go back to my community and serve. And that's when I made the decision to become a police officer, and it had to be in the community that I grew up in. And so that's my why and my motivation. And the primary mission of my motivation was to understand the history and the culture and the anger from the community and work with the Truth and Reconciliation process to make it right and to gain that trust and then serve our communities and help those that can't help themselves. And I think the biggest pivot for me in my career, when you talk about working through adversity and being your true authentic self and embracing the suck, I was the second person in the history of the Los Angeles Police Department to get promoted from a captain to a deputy chief, the first woman. And it was very controversial because the first male that was promoted from a captain to a deputy chief, he got that promotion because he had a subject matter expertise in crowd management and crowd control. And everyone applauded that, they embraced it, and he was good to go. When I got promoted from a captain to a deputy chief, it was because of an expertise that I had. I had helped implement a nationally recognized model called Community Safety Partnership. And it was frowned upon, but I knew that it was a mission that the chief entrusted in me to do. So I had to embrace the suck, study hard, put a team together. When you're in doubt and you don't know what to do, try not to be the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with people that have knowledge in various subjects. State what your mission and your goal is, and then collectively you can move forward to make change. And I'm now an assistant chief, the third highest ranking person in the Los Angeles Police Department, and I'm still embracing the suck.
And what you've built has been truly a model for the rest of the country and really transforms, I think, what people's perception is of law enforcement, especially here in Los Angeles. And the chief did something that I'm going to ask everyone here to do. Please, if you can, end your story or remark with an action or a takeaway that our audience can put into practice as they navigate these waters. So Natalie?
Yeah, absolutely. So what got me to this stage? So prior to my current role, I was actually practicing attorney, public interest attorney, specializing in domestic violence advocacy here in Glendale, specifically at Neighborhood Legal Services. So I want to first thank and acknowledge everybody in this room. There are many who are engaging daily in domestic violence advocacy efforts, protecting overwhelmingly women. We know that it is not an exclusively women's issue, but overwhelmingly is. So in that work, what came up repeatedly for me was the acknowledgement that leadership matters. What we were seeing in the courtroom, in trial, and in policy work was all driven by leaders. And some were really good, and some were not. And what distinguished the effective, thoughtful leaders was that they'd done the work of self-reflecting, spatially reflecting, understanding the world around them, their community, asking the really hard questions, especially of themselves, and then of others, engaging in really critical inquiry, and then asking the question of, so what, now what? How do I unleash that self-awareness that I've developed, an understanding of what's happening around me to do and be better? That's what drew me to my work. It's that understanding that leadership matters. It's everything. And by the way, in our work at Coro, we don't define leadership hierarchically. It is not positional. It is not a role. It is not the person who is at top of an organization. Everybody has the capacity to be a leader. It is an action. It is the exercise of moving ourselves and our world forward. It is doing it with vision, with care, with integrity and purpose. And all of you are doing, some are doing it through comedy. I'm looking at you, Mary, brilliantly every day. You know I love you. Some are doing it as chiefs, and my goodness, what an honor it is to learn from you today and as judges. And so everybody is exercising leadership uniquely in their own way. And so this is what inspired me and anchored me to this work. But it all started a very long time ago in Beirut, Lebanon. I'm an immigrant. I am the daughter of a single mother who fled the civil war in Lebanon, escaping poverty and what felt like extreme hopelessness to journey here for opportunity and the possibility of a future for her and I. And so I'm the product of a strong, resilient single mother, and it is never lost on me that it is all powered by women, by strong, resilient women, and that is what anchors me to purpose. And so if I can I'd leave you with an action item. It's invest in leadership, invest in the next generation, the young folks who are shaping their own leadership, invest in them, pour in them. We are seeing a vacuum in leadership all around us, and we need to invest in these young people so that their future is bright.
All right, so I will answer from the space side of story. So what drew me to my current role was a deep interest in system-level understanding. What that means is how each subsystem works, how every team is aligned, and what it takes to make a mission complete and successful. A pivotal journey during my leadership and my career was during the time that I was leading an effort from March 2020, RMCA Assembly. I was the INT lead for flight hardware. That's the first time I was touching flight hardware, and that was a big deal. What that means, it means every detail mattered. Every action had direct consequences for the mission. That experience taught me the importance of precision, communication, and calm decision-making under a lot of pressure. But more than that, it was the moment I realized that leadership is not about assigning tasks. It's not about title. It's about creating a trust among your team members, being there every day, showing up, and keep moving. And take accountability when it counts. When the problem arises, you're the first one need to stand up in those reviews and say, okay, I take accountability. That moment shaped how I viewed leadership. It was not just a role, but an action driven by clarity, care, and ownership. At the end, I would like to leave you with the quote from one of the Persian poet Rumi from the 30th century. You were born with potential, you were born with goodness and trust, you were born with ideals and dreams, you were born with wings. Learn to use them and fly. That experience was the moment I recognized my wings and chose to use them. Since then, I've led not by title, but through action, stepping in, taking responsibilities, and helping others rise along me. Thank you.
This is working. Well, for me, and I think, I don't know about the other women on this panel, but never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be a judge. There was never, I would be so jealous of my friends that knew exactly what kind of lawyer they were going to be or exactly what they wanted to be. I had no clue. I knew that I needed to survive. I knew that I needed to go to college to know where I was going to live for 4 years and have 3 meals a day. It was at UCLA, that's where I went to undergrad, where I started to think about law school, when I started looking at systems and how they impact our communities. And that's when I started thinking about law school, but never in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to be a judge. And that's what I would do. My action item is that it was other people, and I think all of us here are the sum total of people who have helped us. Somebody that said, you should be a judge, I was like, what? Me? Never. It had not crossed, right? But because somebody that I respected believed in me and thought I should do it, then it kind of put that little thought in my head. And that's what I would leave you with. And when you see people that you think could be good, tell them. Make sure to climb as far as you want to go in your career, but bring other people up with you, because people did help you, and they only helped you because they wanted you to help other people. And for the young, I'm looking at the 2 students that spoke, you blew me away. At your age, no way would I speak to a crowd, and you are going to go so far. But I would also say that your reputation will follow you no matter what career you go into. Make sure that you remember that your reputation will follow you wherever you go. And I think the older people in this crowd will know that, like what they say about you, that you were trustworthy, that you were reliable, you showed up at 5 when they told us to be here. You know, those little things really follow you and go a long way. And I will say, as you traverse your career, it's okay not to know exactly what you want to do. Keep an open mind to everything. What's not okay is if you stop because you just don't know. Keep going. Your paths will open up, and you won't do it alone. People will see that you're working hard and will want to help you, but you will have to do that hard work by yourself.
So I actually grew up down not too far from here as well in South Hollywood to a family of 2 immigrant parents, worked their entire life tirelessly to support and provide for myself and my 3 other siblings. And yeah, they had a minimum wage job. My dad worked at the same place for 30 years, and I actually did the calculation, and he only got probably a $5 raise from the moment that he started working at this country club till he retired in 2020. So I told myself that that's not something that I wanted to do. As the first in my family to go to college, I experienced my first hurdle at the University of Michigan because as an out-of-state student, I couldn't afford to stay there. So I returned home, attended Glendale Community College, and then I transferred into USC. Sorry.
Fight on.
From there, I studied business, and I went into the corporate world thinking that I was going to become the CEO or this director and have this beautiful job. Since I was the first in my family, I was really ambitious, and I realized that that wasn't going to happen. So I ended up leaving the corporate world, and 6 years ago, I actually was sitting in my first small business event where I learned about the free resources that were available to those that wanted to start their business. And from there, I went ahead and took the course. And after the course, I thought I was gonna be able to be successful, start my business. I had this beautiful degree from USC Marshall School of Business. I had it all, right? And after the course, I applied for a loan, and guess what happened? I got denied, I got rejected. I was jobless, I had poor credit, I didn't have any collateral, every possible thing that you can think of as a woman entrepreneur wanting to access capital, I faced. And so what did I do? I didn't give up. I worked with a Women Business Center advisor who helped me put a plan together, and in 12 months, I was able to bring up my credit. I penny pinched. I saved my money. I didn't go out to eat. I was very resourceful, and I was able to secure my first $25,000 loan as a startup. And then last year, I was able to apply for a second loan of $40,000 to grow my business, which I was able to obtain. From that experience, I became a business advisor, a marketing business advisor at the San Diego Women Business Center, where I was able to help hundreds of women during the pandemic digitalize their business models. Like go from paper and pen to going online, getting themselves on Google Maps, starting a website, helping them start their business for those I wanted to start, helping them grow for those I wanted to grow. And from that experience is how I landed this role here at Cal OSBA, where now I support all the small businesses that are here in Southern California. Thank you.
I was going to say, we'd love to hear more about your story, but I think also, Dr. Corn, it'd be great to hear maybe just through the lens of when you first really recognized and saw firsthand women's inequity in the workplace and what inspired you to sort of take on being an ally in this space.
Sure. I'd start by saying I saw it later than I should. And I think that is one of the things you'll hear as we speak about being allies is that we have to be better at understanding and we have to be better at recognizing the gender dynamics and the inequities that are there. But for me, being in education, I had tremendous mentors. And my mentors happened to all be women. They were powerful leaders, they were presidents of colleges, they were people that I still call today, and I ask, how can I do better? Because I know their experience, I know their worth, I know what they do with their actions. And I saw them being paid less. The same or higher qualifications, and they were being paid less. There was one particular situation where somebody that I greatly valued moved from a vice president to a presidency, and she beat out a man. And she got put into a pay scale. That gentleman went to a different college, came back 1 year later, and was getting paid 20% more than her. She had beat him out, and he left for 1 year and came back making 20% more. And it was so in the face that it was something that created a new lens to think about these situations more holistically and really be able to identify them more quickly and ask about them. So I think that was really the first time that it came across. I do think that being an ally means that you have to ask questions. You have to seek understanding, and you have to understand that it's taxing for people who have to work through these inequities. And oftentimes what we do is we say, well, this is a women's equality issue, so let's let the women solve it. And that's a horrible weight. So what I would ask for other allies is to be there to help work through it, to put in the work, to make sure that you're trying to seek understanding, but you're not doing it in a way that the women in your organization have to carry the weight of trying to fix the problems that they've already suffered through themselves.
Great comments. Thank you. So thank you each for being so open and vulnerable with your stories and your personal journeys. I want to transition now to systemic challenges, and I think I'm going to take moderator's privilege of just asking each of our panelists a slightly different question given your unique journey. So let's start with you, Judge. You've navigated the legal system and reached the bench despite the challenges that you faced and have just truly inspired people along the way. How did you go about building credibility in spaces where you may have initially been underestimated? I know you mentioned imposter complex. I think that's something I'd like to be able to just eliminate that, but I think I'm seeing all these women nod their heads facing it. And so maybe you can speak a little more specifically around how you've overcome that.
Yeah, and I will say I'm not. There's sometimes I enter the room going, I should not be on this panel. The chief is here. Like, I still don't think I should be on some. But you realize that it's there, and the real problem is that you believe it. Like, that has to be put aside. And the credibility building is by outworking people, by making sure that you've done that homework, and also living up to your reputation, right? That, like I was saying earlier, your reputation follows you. So I made sure that I was hardworking, reliable, trustworthy, that when I was an attorney, I had opposing counsel, that I wasn't lying to them. Like, be open. People will talk about you. When we leave today, people are going to talk about how we did, right? And you want that to be, they were great. You two were really good. That sort of, but the system wasn't built for people that look like us. Like, literally, this country is only 250 years old. We're one of the youngest countries in this globe, right? And our democracy is pretty, fragile right now. But it was built by white men women couldn't vote. It was less than 100 years ago. In LA, women couldn't vote. Women couldn't sit on juries. We couldn't have checkbooks. It wasn't that long ago, right? So we sit on the shoulders of women who fought, who died, who marched for the privilege of us to do this work. And so we stand on those shoulders, and how dare we shrink ourselves to say we can't do something. And I do always tell, think about a male in your life, not you, Mr. Corner, but who hasn't done that, or Dr. Corner, who hasn't achieved those high degrees, right? Who did okay, but they're not that impressive. If you're thinking about him right now, right, he's in your head, how confident is he, right? He applies to those jobs. He doesn't let people say, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't really qualify for that job. They go for it, and let's figure out how they get, and that's what you have to do. Have just that confidence of this mediocre male that exists, that's applying to those jobs.
Yes, I think we all understand that. I once heard a statistic that men, they may be 30% confident but speak with 90% confidence, and women will be 90% confident about something but speak with only 30%. And I call that my husband versus me all the time. So anyway, Chief, let's transition to you. So no surprise here, law enforcement has been always a very male-dominated field, and rising to the rank in the second largest police department in America as to the assistant chief is truly a remarkable achievement. Yes, it deserves an applause unto itself. Can you share with us some of the challenges you faced and who you were able to count on along the way?
I think just being in law enforcement alone is unique because you face challenges every day. You are oftentimes find yourself being willing to put your life in danger for someone you've never met, and willing to walk into a dark alley to try to save someone. And so, you know, police officers are a little crazy, but those are challenges. And I think when you layer those challenges with trying to be there for someone in their darkest need, with balancing being not the majority within an organization, adds an extra level of stress and sometimes doubt, and you being hard on yourself. And so really level setting and realizing first and foremost, my job is to ensure that we can live in peace in our communities and that we can give voices to the victims and bring justice to the victims and do it in a constitutional way. Internally, when you look at our organization that's male-dominated, it's a struggle. And you have to constantly prove yourself. Can I do more push-ups? Can I do this? Can I do that? And so I'm harder on myself than probably I need to be, because I'm constantly feeling like I have to prove myself to the community and internally within my organization. And I mentioned earlier about surrounding myself with like-minded people and pushing forward with the mission. And I think that's what's gotten me through some of the tough times. And you know, something else unique is I could recall in 1995, I was a young police officer working in West Los Angeles, and someone's burglary alarm had gone off, and it was in the hills, beautiful home. I'd never seen anything like it. And so I've got a training officer, and he's like, "You ready, kid?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir." And so, you know, we knock on the door, and I'm like, it's gonna be my first building search. I'm gonna catch a bad guy. And the owner of the house opened the door, and my partner was a male white, and the owner looked at him and said, "Come on in," and looked at me and said, "You're not stepping foot in my house." And this was 1995. And I remember how hurt, you know, I'm proud, I got my badge, I'm LAPD, I'm ready to do my building search. And this older white woman looked at me and said, "You are not stepping foot in my house." That really hurt. So that was like a fourth layer to add on to the different layers in being in a male-dominated profession, having community that believes that we over-police or we over-suppress, then feeling like I need to do better than my male counterpart, and then dealing with the reality of prejudice in what people think and perceptions of you. So I leaned on my team that I surround myself with. Mental health is extremely important. Allowing yourself to talk about these stressors and say how you feel is extremely important. And then I'm just blessed enough. My husband did 45 years with the LAPD, and he is my rock. And I can come home and go, "Can't believe what they did today, and you men, they suck," and nah, 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 nah. And he'll just go, "Okay, calm down." So having that family and having that center too is really important.
I want to pick up on something you just said, and I think we all experience the multitude of voices in our heads and things we're managing, and it is exhausting sometimes at the end of the day. And I often don't feel like I talk to my husband. He's doing his job, doesn't have to think through all of these. And you are in life and death situations often, managing really tense moments. So can you share with us some of your strategies for de-escalating tense moments when egos, rank start to flare? How do you keep that composure? How do you de-escalate?
Chardonnay. No, just kidding. Just kidding. That's a great question. No one's ever asked me that before. You have to stay grounded and remember your purpose and your why. And you cannot allow that escalation to dictate your response, because you can make a decision or react that will follow you for the rest of your career. And so sometimes taking a deep breath, pausing, and sometimes I'll just say, oh, that poor person, they just don't know any better. And not take it personal, but take it as an opportunity to teach someone and turn that that condescendingness, that escalation, recalibrate it and take it to your advantage and use it to your advantage. Because also as a leader, you talked about leaders, it's our job to teach others and bring others up. You always have to reach down and pull somebody back up. If you stay in that black line and don't make an effort to make that person better, then shame on you. How are you contributing? How are you making the organization better? So you have to accept people and meet them where they're at, but then go a level above so that they can come up and meet you where you're at, and then you should constantly be leveling out each other. But take a deep breath, take a pause, consider that someone's emergency may not be your emergency, but try to put yourself in their shoes, and then you can drink Chardonnay.
Empathy, yes, empathy. So I've heard the chief and the judge pick up on this reputation. I heard a great quote the other day: reputations are built over years, can be ruined in seconds. And I think in the days of social media, it's something for all of us to continue to keep in mind. Natalie, you are in the business of developing leaders. What more noble cause do we need and have in the world right now? So thank you for the work that you're doing at Coro. Share with us what are some of the most effective strategies you've seen for women trying to advance in leadership roles, understanding, like you said, that leadership isn't a position or a title or hierarchical. It's advancing where you are based on where you are relative to where you are at.
Yeah. The reality is, and it's most acutely true for women, is if we're not at the table, at the leadership table, at the decision-making table, it oftentimes means that we're on the menu. That's just the reality. And so the most effective strategy is making sure that we are getting more women to decision-making tables. But it doesn't end there. It also means that when women do get to those decision-making tables, they are also screening for their own subconscious biases that may not allow them to do the work that is their mandate to bring up other women leaders behind them. We hear this frequently in the context of negotiation. There have been many studies done that when women negotiate, they are perceived negatively, significantly more than when men negotiate. The data is depressingly clear on this. But here's the kicker. They are not only negatively screened by men that they negotiate with, they are also negatively perceived by the women that they negotiate with. So what that means is when women who report to you are looking to you for the flexibility that they need to be professionals who may also have other caregiving needs, don't approach that with bias. Don't allow that to be a negative nod to their leadership. They just may do it at different hours. I think Michelle Obama spoke about this so compellingly in her book, and she talks about this through this integrative strategy where she said, what was most important to me when I was sort of coming up in my own professional journey was negotiating flexibility with employers and being very clear that I will get the work done. I will get it done better and with more excellence than anyone else you can hire. Let's be abundantly clear. But I need the flexibility to also be a mother and to do it on my own time. So let's be nimble. So it is getting more women to the table in those leadership positions, making sure we have representative leadership. And then when, as women, we are at the table, it is making sure that we're checking our biases and bringing other women up behind us.
That's great. Melody, space. I love hearing from you.
Sure.
How have you had to create your own opportunities where none were available? And what was the outcome? And I'm hoping you can give some tangible specifics to our audience here.
Sure. That's a good question. So I start with one of my favorites quote again from Rumi. Try not to resist the changes that comes your way. Instead, let life live through you. So in aerospace engineering or any other field that we are, opportunity don't always present themselves as a title or marked role. It's when they emerge through curiosity, persistence, and willingness to ask the questions that no one else would ask in the room. So there's a simple question, but that simple question may take you to places. So during my time on SMAP project, it was the Earth Science project, I was very fortunate to play the role at the high-level system, but I was always drawn to the curiosity at what's happening at the lower level than system, which we called it black boxes, subsystem. The subsystem hardware that they interface between each other, and eventually they get integrated into the flight assembly or so-called ATLO. So I started thinking, okay, at that moment I was working on SMAP project. There was not a specific role for me in that subsystem environment. So I said, okay, I can create that role for myself, and eventually will maybe lead to it. So I began shadowing our Cognizant engineers, which they were basically responsible of one piece of subsystem hardware. Shadowing them, sitting with them, going through documents, drawing what's so-called from part list, what goes on the board, what it takes to look at every single component specification. And it was endless of self-direction hours of learning. So a lot of shadowing. And that opened a lot of doors for me. And eventually, there was a position offered to me, which was the INT lead for Mars 2020, dealing directly with the flight hardware, with the heart of the rover, which was RMCA. And after that, it was a PDL position for Psyche, which again, it was another position that it was building spacecraft and sending it to Psyche. What I learned from that experience is I discovered not only technical capability, but also foundational leadership lesson. When curiosity leads and persistence follows, doors lead to open, even if you have to build them yourself. So I would like all of you to take this quote from me that always create the opportunity for yourself. Don't stop, keep going, keep moving, and the doors will open.
Love it. Stephanie, many women entrepreneurs that you talked about, they just don't know where to begin, and we're so fortunate you're here today. If I'm a woman in Glendale who wants to start a business, what is the very first step that person should take, and who will actually meet one-on-one, and is there a cost? Kind of maybe spend a minute walking us through that in case we have anyone inspiring here tonight.
So thank you for the question. So for our women entrepreneurs, just want to give you all some quick statistics before I answer that question. There are about 4.3 million small businesses in the state of California. About 55% of them are diverse-owned businesses. And out of that number, about 47% are women-owned businesses. So keep that in mind. As far as the resources that are available, through Cal OSBA Scale Network, we have about 3 different women business centers here in LA County. We have one out of the Pasadena City College Women Business Center. We have the new economic Women Business Center that's in the inner city East LA area, and they also have another office in the Valley. And then we have one Pace Women Business Center out of downtown LA, Koreatown. In addition to those centers, we also have some other support centers that are scattered throughout the LA County that you are able to go ahead and work with an advisor there. So that process is really where you would get one-on-one business advising at no cost. So you'll contact the center, and I'll let you know at the end where to contact them at. And you'll be able to set up an intake appointment with them. In that intake appointment, they'll ask you several questions of what are your needs, and from there, they'll assign you to an advisor. That advisor will work with you one-on-one based off your needs, whether it's you starting up, whether you need to create a business plan, if you need marketing support, if you're looking to grow and scale your business, if you need access to capital. Each Women Business Center has a specific specialized advisor from various industries that are vetted and are open to support you. I invite you to visit our website, www.calosba.ca.gov. At the top, there's an orange button, I need help with my business, and from there, you'll be able to see what centers are available in your zip code.
Thank you. I'm going to give it to the doctor before we transition to a quick lightning round on solutions, because I know we're tight on time. Dr. Corner, what is one specific action as a model male ally that you can share that's really helped have a difference in advancing women?
So I've been thinking a lot about that. And I think the number one thing I would say is don't assume you even know how or what needs to be dismantled. Don't come to the table with answers, come to the table with curiosity, and come to the table with a sense that you want to partner to solve a problem. I think far too often, and it was spoken about a little bit on our panel with the confidence, people walk into a room and they try to solve a problem before even seeking to engage in understanding of what the problem is. And working with the individuals who know best about what they've experienced, I would say is the number one recommendation I would give as an ally, is to truly be an ally and don't think that you can solve the problem.
That's great. Okay, I'm going to go off script a little bit, so forgive me, but I know we're a little bit tight on time, and maybe we can just come back around this way. I want to focus on solutions, and obviously this is a huge part of the panel. Maybe each of you can take a minute and describe an area you are focused on or have been focused on, and breaking down barriers for women that give you optimism, give you hope, that we can each walk away with our call to action. So we'll start and come back around.
I'll first say this panel gives me hope. So
Agreed.
It's been a long day, and like this was great, especially having an alumnus right next to me, and it reminds us of all the powerful work we do. I think what we're most proud of right now, and we have our collective bargaining partners in the room, we became one of only a handful California community colleges that has parental leave, paid parental leave. And we know that individuals have these child care responsibilities, but we also know that they disproportionately fall on women, and the expectations disproportionately fall on women. And it was really essential that we work on something systematic that can give the flexibility and to give a benefit that is good for the child, good for the employee, good for the business, and good for society, but we don't do it. Why do we know that these things are good for everybody involved and they still don't happen? And I would just say that that was something we were really proud to work on with our collective bargaining department and make sure that it got done for all of our employees, but more specifically for the women who are disproportionately impacted by that.
I would say to all the women entrepreneurs is that you don't have to go at it alone. There is enough support out there for women entrepreneurs that are looking to start their business and grow their business. One of the biggest things that I'm currently working on is supporting women with accessing capital, education, financial literacy, ensuring that you all know where to go get those resources, how to read a financial statement, how to understand your business numbers so you can make more informed decisions for your business, for your family and the legacy that you are creating when you're starting your business. The other thing that I'm focusing on is procurement opportunities. Given the events that are coming here to Los Angeles, the entire state of California, there are some barriers there as well. And so I want you all to know that through our Scale Network partners, we do have specialized centers that are supporting women entrepreneurs with procurement opportunities, where they'll help you put together your capability statement. They'll ensure that you have the correct codes that you need, so when you're looking for these opportunities, your business aligns with those RFPs, those proposals that are available for you, and then also really help you navigate the certification process, ensuring that you are certified locally if you want to do procurement opportunities with your local city or county, if you want to be certified with the state and or federal. And so you have my commitment to support the women entrepreneurs that are sitting here today and here in Southern California, to not only assist you with accessing capital, but also with those procurement opportunities. I will be available, so if you'd like to come and speak with me, I am open and I'm willing to spend time with you and connect with you to ensure that we get you to the correct center that's going to benefit you and your business.
Thank you. One of the things I've been working on when the Governor Newsom first became elected, we pushed them to we need more women on the bench throughout the state of California. LA were doing okay, but the rest of the counties in California were pretty rough. And they said, we're not getting the applications. And so we started he appointed me to be the chair of the Judicial Mentorship Program, where we get judges to mentor these attorneys who want to be judges, to demystify the process, because it is a lengthy process. It's a long application. But we were figuring out that women were not necessarily applying themselves, and they were self-selecting themselves out. And I think one of the things besides, not having that confidence that I talked about earlier was saying, well, I don't have that. We look for, trials you've done, motions you've done in front of court, what have you litigated? And some of the women would be like, I don't have the community service, which is another component. What have you done out in the community? And women said, well, I don't have that, where the men didn't necessarily have it either. And the women were taking their kids to practice, to soccer, there were the team moms, the room moms, the what have you, theater, performances, and that counts, right? You are out in the community, and so demystifying that process. Right now, the governor is set to appoint the most number of judges in history of any governor, and the majority of them will be women.
So what was the question to exactly get it?
Solutions.
Solutions.
You're focused on
I
or
see.
that give you hope.
I see. Okay, so what gives me hope, personally, is seeing more women in STEM, not only contributing at the high technical level, but also leading decision-making, influencing strategy, and driving innovation. That kind of presentation really matters. It reinforces that leadership can take many forms, and that impact comes from depth, consistency, and clarity of purpose. My call to action is simple. Focus on excellence and be intentional in how you grow and support each other. How you show up every day, which we practice every day at work, shapes the culture around you. Leadership isn't something you step into it later and with title and a future. It starts with how you engage. It starts now, and how you build up your team. So that's my hope, and that's my action to call.
I'm going to just double down on invest in good leadership. And I want to actually just double down, because we are talking about systems, and systems are everything, right? We fall to the level of the strength of our systems. That's just the absolute reality. And so when you are voting, when you are supporting folks running for office, I want to, in this moment, just talk about leadership in sort of the elected and appointed sense. When you are at the voting booth, pay attention to the leaders who are committed to advancing policies that support equality. It is also advancing more women to elected leadership. It is a very strong and. But we are seeing right now across our country that there are women in leadership positions who are not advancing women's rights, right? So it is not an or, it is an and. Support representative leadership, get more women into office. I'm looking at you, Councilmember Asadrian. Thank you for leading the way. And support also male allies who are supporting strong, sound, equity-centered policies.
Chief, bring us home.
So I recently have been doing these 20-minute mentorship sessions with men and women, but I've really doubled down. If I'm at a crime scene or out in the community and there is a woman officer, to pull them aside and say, hey, get on my calendar. I like to meet with you. Case in point, I did that. I saw a sergeant at a crime scene 2 weeks ago, and I told her to get on my calendar. And she came yesterday, and it meant so much to her. She's wearing her long sleeve. When we wear a long sleeve, that's like our Class A's, like our business attire. And she had her long sleeve on, and she had a notebook, and she seemed nervous. And she's like, you told me to come see you. And I'm like, staring at her, and I'm like, now what am I supposed to say? You know, and I mean, I was awkward with considering myself as, you know, a mentor, and I was nervous about it just as much as she was. But we sat down and I asked her, you know, what is your future? What would you like to do? Do you have a family? And it turned into this organic conversation, and she walked away with a plan, and I had no plan. And so I'm really doubling down on that and just, hey, come meet me, come talk to me. And when the meeting ended, you know, I got her, she's gonna study to be a lieutenant. She's going to look at different job opportunities outside of what she's doing now. So I think I'm developing my craft of being a mentor and working my way through how to lift everyone up, but have a specific focus on women. Women are only 8% of the LAPD right now, and at one point we were at 11%. So that's been my focus.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving our panelists a big round of applause. If there is one takeaway, we cannot do this alone. The work continues, and I leave tonight extremely motivated, inspired by the people we have doing the hard work across sectors. So enjoy the rest of the night. Big thanks to the City of Glendale for convening such a beautiful evening, and thank you all for being here with us. Enjoy.